What's up, Nerdyverse? I'm Daddy Louie, and in this video, we're taking a look at a game called The Bank Job. So stick around. Before we get started, if you enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up. Make sure that you subscribe for more content and hit that bell icon so you don't miss any future videos. The Bank Job is an upcoming Kickstarter from Brains and Brawn Gaming. It will be launching sometime early to mid-January of 2021. It is for 2 to 6 players ages 8 and up and takes around 15 to 30 minutes to play, depending on how many players you have. This is a bluffing and social deduction card game, which plays at 2 players pretty well, and I don't know too many games that do that. Deduction games, that is. You and your friends have just completed a bank heist, a robbery, if you will, and each player will be given a secret role that no one else knows about, and depending on what your role is, your objective for winning could change. Maybe you're the rat trying to get everybody else caught. Maybe you are just a crew member trying to have as much of the goods that you've stolen saved in your bag and in your safe. Either way, the player that completes their objective at the end of the game will be the winner. But is it good? Well, if you join me on the table, let's check it out. All right, so here's everything that was included in the game for me. Keep in mind that this is a prototype copy, so everything is, of course, subject to change. So first and foremost here, we've got the little one-day tracker clip. This goes onto the included action card, and this is just to track which day you're on. So the game is played across 7 rounds or days as it's broken up into, and this card is accessible to everyone on the table. These are the actions in which you're going to take, which we'll talk about in a minute. Then there are these colored cubes. There's 2 in each color, so you basically just pick which color you want to be, and you take the 2 that represent the color that you've chosen. That is for your AM and PM actions. Again, we'll talk about that in just a minute. Then we have our crew cards. There are 6 crew cards included, depending on how many players you have. If you have 5 to 6 players, you're going to shuffle all of these up and deal 1 randomly to each player, which will then be revealed to the rest of the group. These are not hidden. If you are playing less than 5 players, then you take the operator and the driver out and just shuffle these 4 and, again, deal 1 to each player. The rest of the unused ones will go into the box. You won't need them for the game. And we'll talk about what they are a little bit later. Then we just have some reminder cards. They talk about the win conditions on one side and the actions you can take on the other. You can already see these actions on the action card, so you probably won't flip to this very often. Then we have our roll cards. These are going to be shuffled up. There are 4 crew, 1 snake, 1 rat. Depending on what you get, your objective is going to change. So there's a lot of replayability here because obviously you're going to get a different roll every time. You're going to get a different crew every time. And you're not going to use all of these loot cards. These are going to be, you're only going to use some of them. So again, that's something that, will get changed up from time to time. So you're going to shuffle these up, give 1 to each player. So in a 2-player game, you may not ever see the snake and the rat, or you may only see the snake and the rat. That's one of the cool things about playing at lower player counts. So, and then we have our loot cards. So there is a diamond and a tracker. These are included in every game that you play. And then these other cards here get shuffled up. They're just some random items that you might see when you rob a bank or something like that, and they have point values attached to them. So you're going to shuffle these up, and then based on how many players you have, that will determine how many cards you play with. So in a 2-player game, you'll play with 9 plus the 2, so 11, 3, 13, 4, 17, and so on. So depending on how many players you play with, that's the number of cards, loot cards, that you're going to use in the game. But why don't I go ahead and set up for, we'll set up for a 3-player game, and I will show you guys how it plays. Okay, so before we talk about full setup here, we've gone ahead and partially set up for a 3-player game, but I want to go over the win conditions because the win condition, based on what your role is that you've been given, is going to change what your strategy is going to be. So in this 3-player game, I've randomly handed out some roll cards here, and I've already gone ahead and looked at them. Remember, these are hidden from the other players at the table. That's these black cards here. And we do have 1 rat, and then we have 2 crew players. So there is no snake, and the other 2 crew players were not used in this particular game. So looking at the win conditions here, so the rat wins if the diamond and tracker are with the same player. So you're going to spend your actions moving loot around, and you'll see the loot in just a second. So this player here, his objective, he can win the game if he can make sure that the tracker and the diamond, which are in this pile here, end up with the same person. So that's going to be this player's objective here. Now, if we had a snake, which we don't, but if we did, they win if they have the diamond in their bag or in their safe. So you're going to have a safe and a bag. So while this guy's trying to make sure that the tracker and the diamond end up with the same player, the snake wants just the diamond. So, the snake's going to be moving loot around to try and make sure they have the diamond. The rat is going to try and make sure that the tracker is wherever the diamond is with the same player. The other players, so long as the rat and the snake haven't won, obviously, it goes to the crew members, and the crew member with the most money wins. So, with some exceptions. So, obviously, each of these loot items here are worth a certain value. That's not because that's the tracker, but a cash here, this is worth $5. So, the caveat is the crew member holding the diamond can't win. So whoever has the diamond, unless it's the snake, obviously, they can't win the game. So let's say this guy gets the diamond, he can't win. She gets the diamond, she can't win. If it's the snake who gets the diamond, then obviously they win the game, based on this criteria up here. Another caveat is any crew member holding the tracker cannot win. So you can kind of see here where each player is going for different strategies and different objectives. They're trying to push away the diamond. They're trying to push away the tracker. The rat is trying to make sure that they're on the same person. These guys are just trying to get money. And any crew member with more loot than the other players, basically. So, again, whoever has the most... the most money, that's value, not loot itself, it's value. So you're trying to get rid of low value items, pick up high value items. That's how the crew members win. So I hope that makes sense. So now that we know that, we're going to take this loot pile here, give it a good shuffle. Then you're going to deal each player 4 face down loot cards, and then place the remaining 3 loot cards face down in the center of the table, known as the score. So we're going to give 4 to the rat here, 4 to this guy, 4 to this player, and then these 3 items go here, face up or face down next to the action. So before play starts, each player is going to take their loot items, and they are going to put 2 of the items face down in their safe, and they're going to put 2 loot items face up in their bag. So those are items that everybody else at the table can see, and that's the setup. Remember earlier I said that we'd talk a little bit about the player cards, so let's take a look at them now. There's a few pieces of information, some art there, the name, and then the number. The number is going to talk about your action selection. So during phase 1 of the round, or each round is 2 phases, phase 1 is a job assignment. So you're going to assign your cubes to an AM and a PM job on this action card here. And determining the player by the number here is how you're going to determine who does that first. So we have a 2, a 3, and a 4. So the 2 is going to go first. Actually, let's just take a look at that. So the 2 is going to go first here. And they have a specialty item, and they can do the list of things that are on the card here. So the specialty for this character is exchange one loot card in another player's bag with a loot card in the score. Remember, this is the score right here. So, and these are the items in the bag. So you can see, the bag items there. And then let's very quickly talk about all of the actions that you can take. So in player order 2, 3, 4, you're going to place a cube on an AM action over here. You cannot place a cube on a cube that already has something. And in the PM rounds, which is the second action, you can't place your cube in the same cube that you already have one, if that makes sense. So if I were to put a save on an AM, I can't put a save on a PM. I have to choose a separate action in the PM of the rounds. After all the players have selected an AM action, you select a PM action in order based on who chose what over here. So for that to make sense, let's say we'll go 2, 3, 4. So player 2 here picks this, player 3 picks that, and player 4 picks this. So now next round, for the PM actions, it's going to go yellow. He'll pick this. Red will go next, and then yellow will go last. And that's how you determine the order for that. So let's talk about the actual actions. Okay, so the first action here, the spy action, is you get to peek at a card in the score or in another player's safe. So if by selecting this, you're basically looking at one of the loot cards that's here in the middle, or you're looking at a loot card that's in someone else's safe. So that's a way for you to be able to see what other people are doing. The next action, save, is to exchange a card in your bag with a card in your safe or in the score. So here we can choose items that are here, and we can place them either here in our safe or here in our in the score. We can make a swap there. Swap is the next action. That's to exchange a card in your safe with a card in the score. Sneak is to exchange a card in your bag with a card in another player's safe. Swindle is to exchange a card in your bag with a card in another player's bag. And then special is to use your specialty, which we already talked about. So you can see you're going to be choosing actions to help you in order to achieve your goals by manipulating the table, but also keeping in mind that other people are going to be able to do that as well. So that's the first phase. You do the AM, and then you do the PM. AM, again, is based on the number on your card. PM is based on who selected what in the AM. Now, the phase 2 is to actually take those actions. So you start at the top, and you go through, you do the AM actions, and then you do the PM actions. There are 2 special days that's done in round 3 and in round 6. And before the job assignment on those, the score is revealed. So all of these get flipped over. Everybody takes a look at them for a second, and then they get flipped back over again. Actually, you shuffle them and then place them face down. So that only happens on 3 and 6. So you are going to get a free peek twice a game at the loot here. Remember, this can change based on what other people are doing. And also keeping in mind that each role is doing something a little bit different. So you're going to do that across 7 rounds. And after the last round is done, everyone will reveal their roles. And starting with the rat, you will try scoring. So again, if the rat will win right at the top of scoring as long as the diamond and the tracker are with the same player, or if they're both in the score. The snake wins if the diamond is in their bag, but not the tracker. Remember, if the tracker's in there as well, the rat wins. That's assuming that there is a rat in the game, right? If the snake and the rat did not win, then it goes to crew scoring. And then, we look at the things that we talked about already. I don't want to get too much more in depth than that because I've already been rambling quite a bit, making sure that you understand the rules. But again, the premise here is that every time that you play, you get a different role, you get a different crew, you're going to have different abilities, you're going to see different loot, and you're going to have different strategies based on what your overall objective is. You do that across 7 rounds, and then you do scoring, hoping that you win the game without getting caught by the popo. And that, guys, is everything that you need to know in order to play the bank job. Now, I myself, I don't play very many social deduction games, mostly because a lot of social deduction games require 3 or more players. Usually, there are not very many social deduction games, at least not that I know of, that are 2-player games. And this is one of them. So I'm really happy to see that they've done something a little different there. There's lots of replayability, like I mentioned. There's all of these different components, all of the different roles, all the different crew cards, the different loot, shuffling things up. You're going to get a different experience just about every single time that you play. And that's also going to change up your strategy based on what role you've been given. There will be a 1 to 4 player mint tin version of the game available in the Kickstarter as an add-on. Hopefully we'll also see that as a purchasable item later on down the road. I also know that the Kickstarter version of this game will be $5 off of the regular MSRP, so you're going to want to make sure that you jump on the Kickstarter, make sure this gets funded, and get your Kickstarter discount. Also, they're talking about custom loot and custom crew card tiers in the Kickstarter as well. Lots of good stuff coming from Brains and Brawn Gaming. You definitely want to check this out. I'll leave links to everything in the description below. Make sure that you go and check them out and help them get this thing funded. What do you guys think of the bank job? Let me know down in the comments section below. If you want to see more from the Circle of Nerds, we have all the social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, all at Circle of Nerds. Also, don't forget that we have a podcast that comes out every week called The Cosmic Disaster Show. You can find that right here on YouTube or anywhere that you enjoy listening to podcasts. And for an extra bit of love and affection to us here at the Circle of Nerds, please consider checking us out over on Patreon at patreon.com/Circle of Nerds. Anyway, guys, that's all from me. I will see you in the next video.